Oh my gosh, I've been living in my house for 70 years and it's time to downsize. Mom and dad are downsizing. Grandma's downsizing. Grandpa's downsizing. How the heck do I downsize? What does that look like? The reality is it's not easy. It's not easy for someone that's lived in their house 5 to 7 years, which is the average. Someone lives in their property at this time. And yet seniors will be in their property for 30, 40, 50 years. I just recently helped a family relocate mom to assisted living and sell the house they owned for 60 years. It's not easy. It's not an easy process. So how do you have that conversation? When is it the right time to make the move for mom or dad, grandma or grandpa, whoever it be? And what are your options? There's so many questions around this and such a great conversation to have today. I'm excited to have the conversation with you. I've had so much experience in this area, especially recently, and been helping family after family do this exact thing. So the first conversation that you probably have to have with the family member who's been in their home a long time, and let's be real, like you're always there helping them now. They shouldn't be alone. They've potentially fallen down a few times, potentially gotten lost a few times. There's lots of challenges that could be happening with mom and dad who are living in the house, dad and dad, mom and mom, whatever it be, mom and sister, mom and son, mom and child, dad and child, right? And it's time. Their health is not allowing them to be in a space alone anymore. What do you do? How do you have the downsizing conversation? It's not an easy conversation to have. It's not like, well, it's time. We got to move. Let's sell the house, because I can tell you what's going to happen. Mom or dad or whoever it is, we're just going to say, Mr. or Mrs. Senior is going to say, hold on, wait a minute. You're not doing anything with my house at this time. I am staying put. I'm not going anywhere. That's generally what happens. That's generally what has been said. And so then you have to dive a little deeper. Well, why do we need to downsize? What is happening that is creating this need for downsizing? Have you come and had to meet mom or dad, Mr. or Mrs. Senior, and said, well, there they were, not in a good place. They haven't had a great meal. They're not really able to fully care for themselves anymore. Maybe they're having the challenge of just getting the trash to the curb and back, right? It's time to consider relocating to an environment that supports them, excites them, protects them, creates a space of inclusivity, right? Where they're safe, they're happy, they'll get some interaction with other people that are going through the same life challenges they're going through. So what do you need to do? Well, the first biggest challenge in their mindset is they look around at everything around them and they go, what am I going to do with all my stuff? Where is it going to go? How am I going to take it to my new home? I need to take it with me. I can't just leave it behind, right? So they'll get stuck there for a while. You slowly move them through that process. This is really, when you have this conversation, this is really like a year to a 2-year process, reasonably, just because it takes that long in general to process a move. I mean, when someone talks about moving, according to the National Association of Realtors, when someone talks about moving, it takes them up to a year to make the decision to do it. So, with a senior citizen, what do you expect? It's going to take some time, and they've got to figure out where the heck they're putting their stuff. What are doing with it? It's easy. Well, guess what? I'm just going to leave it right here in my house, and you're not going to sell it. That is potentially what Mr. and Mrs. Senior might just say to you. Sweet child, son, daughter, family member, caretaker. They're just going to say, no, I'm not selling. So, how do you help them move to whether it is they need to sell or not? Very simple. It's a numbers conversation. Costs us X amount to go live in another location. You only have X amount coming in. And if we sell the house, that will supplement and help us with that. It may or may not, but it's a numbers conversation. If the numbers allow for you to still keep the house and put them in a place where they're happy and supported and interacting and safe, then hey, let that be. Let that be that way. You know, you also may just say, can you stay put? Is it possible? Can you afford to bring in a personal caretaker? You all may not know this about me, but when I was about 21, I was a caretaker of maybe 22, 23. I was a caretaker of an older gentleman. His name was Barney. I loved Barney. Every day I would go over, stay with him, make sure he got his medicine, make sure he was well taken care of, and he got fed. And I would hang out with him and my brand new newborn baby, who's now my office manager. We would go do that. And there were times where we would stay the night so we could be sure he was safe. That was something I did. Was I qualified to do it? No. I was a mother who was coming to be a mother to a senior citizen and a mother to my baby. That's what I was doing. That was a great option for that family at that time, right? It allowed for him to stay home. It allowed for the family that was out of the area to have a resource of where they felt safe, and I could be there to help them. It's a process. You have to go through the process just like anything else and see what makes best sense, right? You've got to help Mr. and Mrs. Senior explore all their options for every living situation they may or may not have the opportunity to take advantage of. Some great situations that are out there and allowed for you. Love this, right? 7 great senior living options. Number 1, they just stay put. You have someone come and help them. You have in-home service. The second option would be a 55 plus community where they're with other people who are also of the same age and can just have fun with them. They can socialize and be safe in their experience. Then there is assisted living facilities for those that need care. They need someone to make sure all is well. Make sure their medicine is being handled correctly, right? Make sure they have healthcare services. Then, of course, there is continuing care retirement community, also known as CCRC, where they need more medical, more life planning. they need that support. And of course, the nursing home, where they actually need someone to bring medical support to them and help them day in and day out in the medical facility. And then there's senior co-housing, right? Senior co-housing, that's back from the day. It was first created. Here's a little history on senior co-housing if you haven't heard about it, right? It came and it was developed in Europe in the 70s. It was based on a group of people who intentionally came together. They were all seniors and they lived together, helping each other. Just like you have college kids who all hang out and live in the same space. Well, this is senior co-housing. Same idea. And then there's another particular project. It's called the Greenhouse Project. If you haven't heard about it, Google it. But it's a concept that comes under the category of nursing homes, and it adds a twist. It's seniors living in their own bedroom and bathroom, but sharing a living room, dining room, and a kitchen with 10 to 12 other skilled caregivers on premises too to help them. Like, what a great option. They all come together, hang out, have dinner together, have lunch together, and then they go to their individual beds, areas, spaces, and they have skilled service to help them. All great, great options for if they want to move out, what their options are to where they can go, to what they can do to stay put right where they are, which is generally where they want to start. Right? So we share with them all of their options so that they can make the decision. You can come together as a family who supports each other and help them with their living situation so they are happy, healthy, and safe. And then, of course, there's always the dreaded, do we move twice or once? It's big to move at all. So if you can do something that makes great sense for them for long term, great, do it. As long as you all come to terms together and it makes great sense. Otherwise, it's probably easiest to do one move first, let them adjust to their new way of life, and then start talking about when the next move is or what the next option is. There's a lot of facilities, homes, caretakers out there that allow for you to stay right where you are and move from one area of the home community to another area. Makes the ease of move so much less stressful for them. Just is a great option. The other thing you must take into consideration when making this move, right, is what's going to happen with the house. What are we going to do? I'm going to tell you right now, there's lots of tax implications and there's lots of financial consulting you need to do to make sure that you make the right financial decision as to not compromise their medical insurance and or their income coming in, because everything is based on their assets, what they own, what they have. The money coming in can impact from the sale of a property, can definitely impact their health insurance and the needs that are very much needed for them, their medical needs. So you definitely want to have the conversation with your tax professional, whether it's your CPA or your financial advisor or whoever it be. Have that conversation so you make the right decision as to not lose medical benefits. You just want to make sure you do that. So, so important. Before you decide to sell a house or rent a house or do anything with the house, have the financial conversation with your financial preparer, right? You'll want to know what the value of the property is. So if you choose to sell it, you know what's going on. You know how much money you're working with. You know what the money coming in to whatever account you decide to have it sent to looks like, right? You're going to need to know once moved. It doesn't matter whether or not you sell, if you should do any repairs or upgrades to the property so that you keep it functioning at the highest level possible as to not lose the integrity of the home. So when it's time to sell, it's still in great shape, right? You may consider, if you are to put the house on the market because it doesn't impede upon their financial situation, you may consider having it professionally staged. And then, of course, the marketing aspect of it, if you choose to move forward with selling, everything that's going to happen. I have found it's best that when we do put a house up for sale that has a senior living in it, that they're relocated first. I have just found that it's a much more successful transaction. It just makes for ease, and it makes for the safety and security of the senior who's living in the home. You may need to do an estate sale or have things donated out. We've helped with plenty of those. We've definitely made that happen. Again, you may want to talk with the CPA and your professional realtor about renting versus selling, right? You may want to go like, wow, I can rent it for this much money and still pay the costs related to Mr. and Mr. Senior's living situation. Then again, we've talked about those tax implications, the legal and financial consultations you should have over and over again to make sure you're making the best decision for the family financially. Work with people who've worked with seniors, who know how to approach these conversations and have been through these solutions and these challenges over and over again. People who are willing to come and sit down and have the heart of a teacher. We've done it plenty of times with seniors and their families. And then you want to make sure that the community is involved in the interest of this property. Hey, maybe the local church could utilize the space and you don't even need to sell it. Maybe it could be a tithe for you for a time. Maybe some neighbors could utilize the space as well. You never know until you start having the conversations that allow for you to see how your home that you've owned for so long, it's been in the family for many years, can be a blessing to yet another family. That is what you want to do in the end with your real estate. Let it be a blessing to someone else. And that is when you don't want to let the house just sit there with no one to care for it, take care of it, be with it, enjoy it, experience it. Want to make sure you find just the right family, however that be, whatever that looks like for this home. Again, I'm going to remind you, and I'm going to close with this. It is so important before moving to sell Mr. or Mrs. Senior's home that you check with your legal and your financial advisor before doing this. Because once you sell a house, the money comes in, it's done. You want to make sure you are not hurting their financial situation so that they may or may not have the insurance they so readily need.